Harp on Sports, The Bar, podcast media, audio, radio network. Follow, share, like, subscribe on all of our platforms. Twitter, Instagram at Harp on Sports. Auditory Route, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Facebook page at Harp on Sports. And also the Harp on Sports YouTube channel at harponsports.com. What do we have in store for you on this edition? Big Bucks Bills. Past the Jack. The Bills going to get a new stadium. That leaves the Jaguars as the only franchise in the NFL in the last, was it now 25 years? 26 years? Since 1995, 27 years. The Jaguars, the only franchise in the NFL that doesn't have a new stadium or a major $400, $500 million stadium upgrade. Enter Ron DeSantis. Why Ron DeSantis is now everything for the Jacksonville Jaguars in the city of Jacksonville. Going to get to that. Aaron Rodgers. Apparently the Denver Broncos have a sweet offer on the table. If this offer is real, the Packers have to take it. You don't have an option. If this offer is real, the Packers have to take it. They have to. It'd be crazy not to. Aaron Rodgers is 38 years old. He's going to be 39 years old in December of next year. You have to take this deal if this is a real deal, if these numbers are correct. So we're going to look at that. And also Major League Baseball, the union, serving back and forth. I've said it time and time again. The month of April is meaningless in all of this. You have the NCAA tournament. You have the Masters. You have the NBA playoffs. Get it right. I'm not one of these people who's going to lose their mind whether or not baseball has 7 games canceled. Think about how ridiculous that is. You can set up the structure of this sport for the next decade. 7 games in April matter. 14 games in April matter. Come on. So we're going to look at the numbers and where they are. Let's start off with the Buffalo Bills first. This is big. This is big. And when you start to see the numbers, wow. Governor Hochul, they're in New York. It's so weird because you had Cuomo and then Governor Hochul comes in, and it's such a different dynamic just in this sense alone. Apparently the state of New York, next budget meeting, Buffalo Bills, city of Buffalo is going to get $850 million for a new stadium. $850 million. The governor came out and she said, look, they'll go elsewhere unless we do this, so we kind of have to do it. Think about that. She said something along the lines that there is a dozen NFL cities or a dozen cities waiting to have an NFL team. You don't have an option. And you know what? She's kind of right. Think about the 3 cities in the NFL, and this is what I always get a kick out about fans. The 3 NFL cities that stared the NFL down. St. Louis did it first. Yeah, we're going to stare you down. Then who stared down the NFL? You know who stared them down next? San Diego. Then you know who stared them down next? Oakland. How'd that work for you, boys? You stare down the NFL, they're going to move you. Or ownership's going to move you. Or it's going to be so uncomfortable that they're going to force you to sell it. It's going to happen. I look at the NFL and the taxpayers. Is it fair that the taxpayers pay billionaires for their stadiums? No, but what option do you have? Seriously, what option do you have? I wouldn't give them a dime. Then they're going to leave. Then they leave. Okay. You're going to lose 5,000, 10,000 jobs, all that revenue? I think the cities of St. Louis, Oakland, and San Diego are better or worse. Lost those teams. And there's certain cities you're never going to get them back. Look like the Hartford Whalers. You're never going to get one back. Jacksonville, you're never going to get one back. Buffalo, you never get them back. So the governor's smart in this aspect. $850 million from the state. These aren't just like local people in the city of Buffalo paying this. It's the state of New York that's kicking in this money. The state. That's why Ron DeSantis is going to be so important coming up here. So that the NFL is going to kick in $150 million. And then the Pagulas, who own the Bills, got to kick in $200 million. So that's $350 million from the NFL and the owners. $350, right? $850 from the state. That gives you a cool, $1.2 billion for a stadium. Buffalo's getting a new stadium. Buffalo's getting a new stadium. How about that? So now the attention turns to the Jaguars. The Jaguars have made renovations over the course of the last 10 years, haven't they? Biggest scoreboards in the NFL? Check. The U.S. Assure Club? Check. I'm talking about stadium issue. Outside the stadium, you have Daly's Place. I get it. The new coaches facility, the training center, the offices. I get that stuff. But we're actually talking about stadium structure. The only thing that's changed stadium structure-wise is the U.S. Assure Club. So what now? If I am Shad Khan, if I am Mark Lamping, if I'm Jaguars management, ownership, Tony Khan, I call my good buddy Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, born in Jacksonville, a former congressman for the district, right? Ring-a-ding-ding, Ron. Hey, we want the same deal Buffalo has. Using state funds from the state of Florida to build our new stadium. Now, what's Ron going to want? I don't know. Lenny Curry, that's what you do. If you're Lenny Curry, the mayor of Jacksonville, when you're not out on Twitter fighting with people about recycling collections, when you're Lenny Curry, you get a hold of Shad Khan. You go, let's go get him now. You go do that now. The minute this thing in New York passes, you go do that now. You free up $1.2 billion. Now, you may not get all that. The NFL's not going to give you $150 million for renovations. They're just not. They're going to want new things. They're going to want luxury suites. They're going to want the whole 9 yards. Shad Khan may kick in a little bit more. You may get $300 million out of Khan. You may get $300 million out of Khan, as opposed to the Pagulas there in Buffalo giving $200 million. But if that's what I would do, I'd go to Ron DeSantis and say, we're not going to ask you for the $850 million. We're going to ask you for $750. Shad's going to kick in $300, and then we're going to ask for $1.5 million, $150 million from the NFL. That gets us to $1.2 billion for a stadium. And the difference is we're a little bit different. We don't, LA's got all this. We don't need that, high tech, intense of a stadium, because you don't. You don't. Jacksonville just blew up that eyesore with the Berkman 2 or whatever. So look, you've got some leg room here, but don't think for 1 second this isn't gigantic. The city of Buffalo, through the governor's office, is getting a new stadium, which leaves the Jacksonville Jaguars as the only franchise in the NFL that doesn't have a new stadium or a massive major renovation in the last 27 years. Once this gets done, it's just the Jaguars. Because even in Carolina, the Panthers, they sunk $400-500 million into that thing a couple years ago and completely redid it. Arrowhead, $500 million. Mercedes-Benz Dome, was the Mercedes-Benz Dome. What is it? Caesars Dome now, whatever it is in New Orleans, $500 million. They sunk massive amounts of money. The Jaguars have done things. New scoreboards, U.S. Assure Club. But what was the U.S. Assure Club? A $90 million project? I think it was a $90 million project. The scoreboards were about the same, close to it, $100 million. So you got some small things in there, but not like massive, oh my gosh, let's change all this. So trust me, if Shad Khan's looking around and everybody's got new toys that they're playing with, where's his toy? And the way to do this is through Ron DeSantis. Ronnie D, step on up. Your turn. No, you're not yelling at kids for not having their masks on or having their masks on. There we go. Stage is set. Shad Khan, Mark Lamping, Lenny Curry, go get him. Go get him. Okay. Oh, by the way, to think that there's no place that this team could move. San Antonio is one of the top 15 metro areas in America. They don't have an NFL team. Do you think St. Louis, who had an offer with like $300 million. I think the last go-around was at $300 million that they offered up for Stan Kroenke and the stadium plan that they wanted to build. So if they're already there at $300 million, I don't know what the state of Missouri looks like in terms of getting a tax break and where they would build it and how that works. But somebody's going to come up with the land and somebody's going to come up with the money. Don't play chicken with the NFL. Oakland, St. Louis, San Diego all did. All lost. Okay, from that to this, staying in the NFL, the shift from the NFC to the AFC. It's so interesting. Think about where we were just 6 weeks ago. Tom Brady was still an NFL football player. The Buccaneers, the Rams, the Bucks, the Packers, the Cowboys, they were up on this echelon, right? The 49ers had a good run in the postseason. So you had this echelon, and Brady and the Bucks were, I don't know if they were at the top, but Brady and the Bucks and the Packers were up there, right? Brady's retired, and Kyle Trask could be great, but come on, it's not going to be the same, not for a while. I mean, or ever. At least not right now. The Rams are going to have to make some big cuts, but they still could be competitive. Got the nucleus still together. I was looking at this, and if this Aaron Rodgers thing is true, the AFC is going to be absurd. The AFC West may be the best division ever in the NFL if this is what they're offering. By the way, if this is true, think about where you are in the NFC. I get the Cowboys are the favorite. The Rams are probably the favorite, but the Cowboys too. The 49ers moving off from Garoppolo. Who else is up there now? It's amazing how the NFC is just all of a sudden gutted. If this is true, or if this offer is on the table. Ready for this offer? Here's what this offer is. Denver is apparently ready to offer Aaron Rodgers, who's going to turn 39 in December. Aaron Rodgers is going to be 39 years old. Aaron Rodgers turns 39 years old in 8 months. On the table, the deal. A first this year, and a second, and a first next year. So the Denver Broncos are prepared to offer the Green Bay Packers 2 firsts and a second for Aaron Rodgers, who turns 39 years old in 9 months. You're the Packers, you'd have to take it. I don't know how you even debate it. After what happened last year, now you can go to him and say, we'd like you to retire here. We're going to have a commitment. If we're going to redo this deal, you're going to stay here for the next 3 or 4 years, and that's it. We're not going to do this every single year. You're going to do it. You could try that. But you know how, like, at the end, Belichick was trying to trade Gronk? Because he knew the clock was ticking. He knew it. And he did it with Willie McGinnis. Like, you get these guys that once they hit in their 30s, like, okay, what can we get for him? That's what Bill Belichick always did. With the exception of the quarterback position. Well, here, in this case, if you're the Packers and you get 2 firsts and a second, so this year you'll have 2 firsts, 2 seconds. Next year, you'll have 2 firsts and a second. You have some salary cap problems this year, but after this year, oh my gosh. You can franchise tag Devontae and then figure it out. Maybe, look, here's what you do. All right, if you're the Packers, realistically, this is what you do. You take this deal from the Broncos. You get 2 firsts and a second. You tag Devontae Adams. Try to work out a deal. If you can't work out a deal, then it's kind of one of those tag trade things. You start looking around the NFL and look around and say, who needs a receiver? Who needs a receiver? Who needs a receiver? Who needs a receiver? And you may not get 2 firsts for him, but you get a first and a third for him. I know the NFL doesn't like that when you tag a guy just to trade him, but I would. You bet I would. I'd tag him, trade him. Then all of a sudden, I wouldn't even do it for a first this year. This is what you do with Devontae. You get 2 firsts this year with the Aaron Rodgers deal. So your first, Broncos first, 2 firsts, 2 seconds. Then I would talk to the team and say, we don't want a first this year. We want a first next year. We'll take a third this year, and we'll take a first next year. Then all of a sudden you have 2 firsts this year, 2 seconds this year, 2 thirds this year. Next year you have 2 firsts. See where I'm going? Actually, next year you'd have 3 firsts. Oh, man. You can completely set yourself up for the future. That's what the Packers should do. That's what they should do. We'll see if they do it, but that's what they should do. But that's how the Aaron Rodgers saga turns. If you really, really wanted to, you could take all those draft picks that you've accumulated, and then you could go after a guy like Russell Wilson, who's 33, and he plays for 5 or 6 more years. But if you're going to do that, you might as well try to make it work out for Aaron Rodgers for 3 or 4 more years. That's what I would do. If the Broncos are offering 2 firsts and a second, you do it. Then you tag Devontae, trade him for a first and a third. Now you pick up 3 firsts and a third and a second for those 2 guys, and you rebuild. baseball. Wanted to wrap with this. They're making progress, and it's progress that, to me, now it's about money. And you can sit there and say it's always been about money. Well, overall, it's about money, but there were fine details that ownership, in order to get more money, were able to work with the players a little bit on some of these things. It looks like the shift is going to be banned 2023. So this upcoming season, it's not going to be banned, but you can say goodbye to the shift in baseball. You're going to have a pitch clock in 2023. What are they kicking around now? 14 seconds when nobody's on base. 19 seconds when somebody's on base. So the pitch clock is going to be trying to speed this thing up. Because the average baseball game, ready for this, is 45 minutes longer. The average baseball game is 45 minutes longer than it was 20 years ago. 45 minutes longer, the average baseball game. That's a lot. 45 minutes? It's gone up something like 20, 25 minutes in the last 2 or 3 years. So the baseball postseason is going to be at 12. Owners are going to get more games, more money. So what are we kicking around now? Pitch clock? Oh, base sizes are going to go from 15 inches to 18 inches. People have gotten bigger. More the base. A lot of collisions on the bag. Now, the bag's so close and you see runners stepping on first baseman's ankles and things like that with an 18-inch bag. That'll never happen. Plus, you're 3 inches closer. I don't know how much 3 inches makes a difference, but there's going to be much more of a contrast from when the runner hits the front of the bag and, the ball is caught in the foot. You're just not going to collide anymore. Now, there's always throws that pull the first baseman off the bag. I get those things. I get that. But these are some of the things that they've agreed on. One of the things that I would like to see them do, home plate is 17 inches across. I'd like to see them make it 19 inches across. I know it would have a little bit of a, maybe you'd have to go 18. But I would love to see baseball, and this would be a caveat that you could do for the pitchers. You talk to the pitchers and say, hey, look, I know we put that 14-second clock in there, and I know we put that 19-second clock in. Guys like Max Scherzer hate it. And it's like, I get it. But what we're going to do is we're going to give you an extra inch on the plate. We're going to take 17 inches. We're going to make the plate 19 inches, and another inch on each side. We're going to speed you up. We're also going to give you more room to work with. You want to speed up the game, right? You widen the lane in the NBA as opposed to college. Widen the plate. More strikes. Guys got to swing more. Ta-da. Not as many walks. See, baseball is one of these things that everybody loves offense, but offense slows the game down. In the NFL, offense speeds the game up because the more first downs, the clock keeps running. It's weird. In basketball, the more offense, the more the game speeds up, the more defense, the more fouls, the more it slows down. So baseball defense speeds the game up. Defensive pitching speeds the game up. It's that exact opposite in other sports. Apparently, a couple other things I want to say here. Arbitration pool, the players wanted at 80. The owners are what? At 30 million. So they're 50 million apart on that. That's a big gap. Arbitration pool eligibility, 80 million the players want. The owners are at 30 million. That's a big gap. That's 50 million. That one's rough. The other thing is the overall tax threshold. Players want 263. The owners are at 238. So they're 35 million apart there. So they're 35 million apart there. And what's going to happen? What's going to happen with that is they'll probably go up to 245. 250, but that other one's going to go from 80 to 40 in a hurry. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the owners come out. See how close I am here the first week of March. The arbitration number compared to the overall tax number, 263, 238. I bet you it ends up at 250, but that number comes down from 80 to 40 or maybe 80 to 50. Let's do that. It'll come from 80 to 50 for arbitration eligibility, and the other number will go from 263, 238. It'll come down to 250. That's what it's going to be. Exciting stuff, right? Numbers. See, I kind of lost you when I started going to the numbers a little bit, didn't I? But the other things are very relevant. You're going to speed up the game, widen the plate, bigger bases, pitch clock. That's fine. I'd still like to see doubleheaders every other Saturday. You could knock 2 weeks off the season, and you'd be playing the postseason in September, and World Series would be the third week of October. But I'm glad that we're seeing fundamental shifts to the game. It's not ruining the game. I had somebody on Twitter the other day, you're ruining the integrity of the game with these changes, Seth. Integrity, the purity's gone. The purity, you mean when guys were throwing World Series 100 years ago? Or how about guys that were using spitballs 70 years ago? Or how about the Negro brothers scuffing the hell out of the ball 40 years ago? How about everybody juicing 20 years ago? Integrity of the game. Sanctity of the game. I smell what you're shoveling. There you go. Harpon Sports, the bar. Podcast Media, Audio, Radio Network. Follow, share, like, subscribe. I had a lot in there. The Bills, the Jaguars. Bills getting a new stadium. Jaguars are up next. It's all on your table, Ron DeSantis. Why Ron DeSantis is going to be the biggest factor if the Jaguars are smart. You use Ron DeSantis to get your new stadium. We also talked about the Aaron Rodgers trade that's on the table. Packers, if this is true, the Broncos are offering you this, you have to take it. No other NFL team's going to match that. And baseball, a little bump in the right direction. There you go. Harpon Sports, the bar, Podcast Media, Audio, Radio Network. Follow, share, like, subscribe at Harpon Sports, Twitter, Instagram. Podcast available for you, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Harpon Sports, the Facebook page, Harpon Sports, the YouTube channel, and of course, harponsports.com. Remember, stay clean, stay focused, stay strong. Frankenstein. Have fun with your friends.